Hello, listener, and welcome to the Lonely Goalpost. This is the podcast where football memories come alive and where we celebrate the stories, moments, and conversations that make the beautiful game so special. I'm Simon Higgins, and in this second World Cup edition, we're looking ahead to World Cup 26. We'll be discussing some of the players and teams we're most excited to watch, exploring a few nations that could surprise people, and sharing some of our score predictions for matches along the way. From established stars to emerging talent, we'll be reflecting on who might capture the imagination of football fans when the tournament gets underway. Whether you're counting down the days until kickoff or simply love talking football, we hope you enjoy being part of the conversation. So grab a brew, settle in, and join us for another football chat from the Lonely Goalpost. Let's get started. Hi there, listener. Welcome to the Lonely Goalpost World Cup Special, Episode 2. We've got our trusted duo here, like the dynamic duo, Batman and Robin, Daniel and Griff. Daniel, how you doing, my friend?
Yeah, good. Nice to be back. Good chat yesterday. Looking forward to today.
Yeah, we've got a few things to continue with, haven't we? So
Yeah.
we want to get cracking with that. And Sean, how you doing?
I'm doing well. I feel slightly underdressed, not wearing my top today, but I have good reason for it.
Tell us, Sean.
Well, obviously you may know I've got a butcher's shop in Broadstone, Griff's Family Butchers. I was doing a video
Brilliant.
today for the World Cup. So it's coming home. I was inspired by your, it's coming home sort of
Yes.
spiel yesterday. So I've created this coming home pack. I had my England top on. I was dancing to World in Motion while I was, displaying my meats up for sale. So that's it. That's the only England top I have. And it's
And
at
and,
work.
and and what's the best meat you have for sale at Griff's, Sean?
Has to be the Morning Glory. Griff's
Lovely.
Morning Glory, where there is guaranteed no shrinkage
You
on
get
those.
it. You get it
There's
on
no
a
sandwich in a Griff sausage.
and you get it on a tenner and you might find them on a tenner Tuesday, mightn't you, Sean? So
Very likely. Yeah, very likely.
very good. Well then, there you go. If you need your barbecue sorted out for the World Cup, there's only one man to go to. But and we're going to listen to him talk about his favourite World Cup final. So to link in with the memories that we've had, listener, while you're listening to Sean talking about his favourite World Cup final, I want you to tell us what is your favourite World Cup final. Okay, so over to you, Sean. Share the World Cup love.
Yeah. We've had a couple really looking back, and you sort of try and remember them. Obviously, my first sort of proper World Cup, as I said yesterday, was the '98 World Cup. But thinking about it, what game I've enjoyed the most as a neutral would the last tournament, 2022, obviously Argentina, France.
Yeah.
It was 3-3 after 90 minutes. Obviously, they went on to win it, didn't they? Argentina on the old penalties. But just the way the game went, it was like they went 2-0 up, then 2-2, 3-2, 3-3. It was just a proper end-to-end sort of, I don't know, almost like a Sunday league game. It was the professional aspect of it just went out the window, and it was just winner takes all. Let's go for it. Let's not be conservative. And it was a goal fest, and it was a great game, and it was one to remember, I think, for the neutral.
It's funny you say the Sunday League scenario because when you think about it, you've got some of the world's greatest players in the world just going, it's like a tennis match, isn't it? Going from one
Yeah.
end to the other, kick and rush, panicking, making mistakes,
Yeah,
scoring great goals.
exactly. And that is why we love the game, isn't it? Because the tactic side of it went out the window. And it was just, look, it's a World Cup final. Let's go for it. We're 2-0 down. France have gone in and gone, let's just go for it. And then they did. They came back. Unfortunately, they didn't win. Obviously, they lost the game. But yeah, as a neutral spectacle for a World Cup, that's what you want, isn't it? That's why we love the game, And to penalties, it's just like it's the perfect final, wasn't it? So,
And it was right at Christmas as well, which I think like some games players seem to burn out, don't they? Think, oh, it's been a long tournament, end of a long season. It was in the middle of the season, and it seemed that they kept having more to give, didn't they? I remember, like, France were on their backsides, weren't they? And they just
Yeah,
Mbappe dragged them up, didn't he? And all of a sudden they looked
yeah.
like more likely, and then out of nowhere, Argentina were the more likely, and and the Christmas tree was up in the corner. Wham was singing, and in the Last Christmas was going to number 1. It was just a beautiful time to be alive when you think
It
about
was,
it,
man. Yeah.
and Daniel, once bitten, twice as shy. What about your World Cup final?
Yeah, I mean, to be just picking up on what Griff said, I think there's probably argument to say that's one of the best games ever, right? I think generally it was up there, and I mean, it was a great World Cup despite all the sort of the talk going
Yeah.
into it. So many goals, and it was a proper World Cup. It felt like. I think it was yeah, it was nice to see. I think you got the fairy tale piece with Messi as well. I think that's always that's always nice to
Yeah,
see and cements his status. So yeah, I think that's up there with me. I think the one that kind of sticks in my head is probably 2002. It felt like Ronaldo's redemption. The two goals against Germany after the '98 final, and
he needed
that's the one.
redemption after that haircut, didn't he? Let's be honest. So he
That,
needed to do
yeah,
something.
yeah, that was yeah. I mean, there's still memes about it now, right? With his yeah, with his fringe. But yeah, for me, especially after '98, because I mean, I think the final in '98 kind of overshadows the fact that Ronaldo was by far the best player in that. He was superb in that
Forgot about
tournament.
that one. Forgot about that one.
Yeah, and then
And even
2002,
that.
he was just yeah. I mean, he wasn't at his best. He was just back from injury, but he scored plenty of goals. And then yeah, just to get a couple in the final against Germany is just exactly what you needed him to do. Really, it was just nice little redemption story. And I think for a player that I grew up just loving, I think, and and again, kind of gets lost in the Cristiano Ronaldo uh, sort of conversation. But Ronaldo was the one for me. And I thought, yeah, that final was just a nice one to watch. It felt good to watch.
I say have them all. When people say who have Ronaldo or Messi, I say I have both, and then I have
Yeah,
Ronaldo as well. Ronaldo, Messi, and have them all. But what's interesting, and you've really just like ticks my memory because looking back, like I was with you, Sean. The last World Cup, it has to be the greatest one ever because the big boys performed on the big stage, and it's what you wanted. You wanted them. There's Mbappe's. I call it the forgotten hat trick in a
Well,
funny
yeah.
way. And then he scored a
Yeah.
penalty in the shootout, I think. And there's 4 goals he scored on the big stage.
Oh,
Everyone's craving for the big players to perform. Then Messi is just out of nowhere carried Argentina. And then you look at that. And then while you're speaking, Daniel, I'm thinking, yeah, 2002, Ronaldo, big player. Again, an argument in the bracket, maybe for another time. Greatest player of all time, certainly greatest player of a generation, explosive, powerful, scored the goals. Then you got and the '98 final again. You got Zidane who scores the 2 goals. He'd been sent off earlier in that tournament, and then again the Ronaldo drama. And there's so much to
mm,
unpick. And finally, the West Germany Argentina 1986. That was a 3-2 game, and I'm a bit too young to really remember that, but I did watch it. I just saw lots of things happening with blue and white stripes and some green team, and there seemed to be goals. And I think Argentina got 3, and West Germany got 2. However, I think Maradona, the way that picture of him of the World Cup is probably it's like Pele with the iconic scenes, isn't it, of World Cup
mm.
football? So, so there's some World Cup finals to whet our appetite. But we were in the flow last night, and we were sort of talking about players to watch, and we sort of went a bit quick about that really. And I know Sean touched on Elise, and we talked about a few other players. But is there any other players that we didn't mention that you would like to mention? I'll go with you, Sean, first, and then Daniel, you
Yeah.
can have a think, and let's see where we go.
I think there's a couple of players. I was thinking about it today, to be fair, and I feel like Alvarez for Argentina hasn't really been given much of a shout when you're talking about the big players. He's been linked with Madrid. I think he's going to be a bit of an outside, not really spoken of striker who's going to surprise, maybe get a few goals. Diaz for Colombia as well. He's
What a
so
season he's
tenacious
had.
on the ball, isn't he? The energy levels he has, he never
Yes.
gives up. And he's obviously got the ability as well. he's Colombia's top goal scorer in the qualifications. So, there's two South America. Yeah, there's sort of two undercards there as well as Elise, who perhaps aren't, obviously they're not the Messis, they're not, the Mbappes, but I feel like they should get a good shout out because I feel they're ones to watch.
Yeah.
Alvarez is sorry, Dan. Alvarez, I think, and I'm sure you jump in on this, but I always think Alvarez is like a glue. Like when you look at Manchester City, if you think about Manchester City's, I'm not going to call it a decline, but their sort of transition. And around the time, was he in the treble winning side? Was he around there then? I'm trying to remember. I can't remember off the top of my head. But he's around, but he was like a glue. He always made something happen. And I don't think Man City have been the same since. And I'm not surprised he's tired for all these big bids. And I agree with you 100%, Sean. I think he is definitely one player to watch. And if it clicks for him, I think we're looking on that next. It's going to propel him on the next level, I believe. I don't know what you're thinking, Daniel.
Yeah, I think he needs something to click. He reminds me, the way he plays reminds me a little bit of Tevez, right? That sort of like tenacious, sort of dogged. But Tevez was a bit more prolific, I think, and I think that's the bit that I struggle with Alvarez is I'm not always sure he's going to score the goals. No. He scores enough, but he doesn't. It's not like he scores.
He's not an out and out, is he? He's a second striker, really.
Yeah, it's not that Lautaro Martinez feels like he's their main sort of goal threat.
Yeah,
and doesn't get always play. But I mean, you talk about these names like Alvarez, Martinez, and they're all in. It's not a bad group of players to pick from. But yeah, no, I think he's definitely one. I think he's definitely one of capable of having a very good World Cup and having. But whether he scores the goals, I'm not sure. But to have an impact in the games, I think he's definitely there. Yeah. I think
so for me, touching on Diaz again, if you look at the Colombia group as well, they've got like Uzbekistan and Dominican Republic, Congo. There's potential there for him to get 4 or 5 goals. I mean, I think I was looking at the stats earlier, and Diaz was in the South America qualifications. He was second overall behind Messi.
Wow, so not bad company.
He's got
a bit of a path there to sort of score a few goals in the group, and then obviously, what happens after that is, it's for grabs, isn't it? Really. So
we've got a little penchant for our Bayern Munich boys, haven't we? I talked about Harry Kane. Sean's brought Elise in. We've got Diaz, and you forget, don't you? Again, it might be for another time, but Munich are a Premier World football super powerhouse, and these are good players playing for a big team, big stadium. When I went over there a couple of years ago, it was unbelievable. Atmosphere's unreal, and these players are idolised. And yes, Bayern Munich do win the league pretty much 9 times out of every 10 years, but it's still the pressure. It's that pressure to win, which I think is what improves the mentality. And Diaz has had a great season, so great shouts there, Sean. Oh, and Daniel, what have you got?
Yeah, no, I think it's just to keep on the Bayern theme a little bit. I think Josh Kimmich, I think he's one that tends to go under the radar just generally. I think if Germany are going to have a good World Cup, it'd be because he has a good World Cup. And then I think one for me that kind of gets me excited as an England fan is Nico O'Reilly. I think he is potentially a bit, to coin a phrase from maybe a younger generation, a bit of a cheat code at left back. I think he's very much that sort of
unbelievable player.
Yeah, who can just change a game from left back. And I think Pep's done a bit of a Pep number there in terms of turning someone who was effectively a central midfielder into a left back and making him into a very, very good left back as well. And then there's the other one I'm interested in looking at as well. Probably is it that lad at Como, Nico Paz.
The young Argentinian
lad. No, he's the Argentinian lads. Yeah, but I think it's an interesting. I think like Real Madrid have got like some sort of ridiculously small buyback clause from Como for him. So I think it's like less than 10 million for a lad who has done well in Serie A and could potentially come and make an impact for Argentina. So it's another one that you kind of look at, a bit like Rayan at Brazil as well, right? He's not going to start games, but could come and do some really good things. So yeah, I think I'm just interested to see a lot of the sort of fringe players. I know there's that 17-year-old lad at Mexico. I'm not sure, I don't think he started. He didn't start. He was on the bench, wasn't he? That Mora. But again, I think that's you're getting a lot of young talent coming through. I'm not sure where they're going to go next, but it's quite exciting to see where I always like to see where in 5-10 years, where who's in around that Ballon d'Or conversation and where we first saw them, right? So
Start somewhere. And O'Reilly, just to finish off on him there, I watched Manchester City play Bournemouth in the FA Cup last season, or 2 seasons ago, at Dean Court, aka the Vitality, and Bournemouth were winning 1-0 at half time, and I was convinced that Bournemouth would win. They were the better team. They're on top. City were having a little bit of a moment last season, and he came on at left back, and I wasn't aware of him. And it was a big lad, big hair, and the ball just seemed to stick to his feet, and he's running, weaving through, and looking at his transformation this season, like he scored goals in cup finals, and these are just dreams that. This the Rover stuff, isn't it? And all of a sudden, he's now in the England squad in the World Cup. And I think if he's used sensibly, it is a very exciting prospect. And there's a reason why some players aren't there, like Alexander-Arnold, Luke Shaw, and hopefully it's his time to shine in. And who knows where he may take us. A good spot there, boys. And we're talking about teams to watch. We sort of. Again, we talked some big hitters, but is there any teams? I'll go with you, Daniel, first. Is there any teams that you are looking forward to seeing? Any dark horses? What are you going to say about that?
yeah, I think. I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing what Portugal do. I think they could go one way or the other. I think for all their talent, I think they might be handcuffed a little bit by their coach. So yeah, without wanting to upset too many people, because I know that Gareth Southgate is revered amongst a few. I feel a bit like Martinez is a bit like their Southgate. I do wonder about his tactical awareness and his strength in decision making during games. But I mean, if Portugal click, I think they could have a really big tournament. And then in terms of dark horses, I think there's a couple. I think the Ivory Coast, we kind of mentioned them briefly yesterday. I think they've got a young, dynamic, quick team. They could cause a bit of a ruckus, I guess. And I think Turkey as well, similar sort of to the Ivory Coast, young, dynamic team. And you just think that in terms of the temperatures that we're going to, face, that those guys are probably quite used to similar sort of temperatures. It will feed back into it, and they'll be quite happy to have half-time water breaks now that they've been introduced as well, right? So
half-time.
Yeah, a quarter time. So yeah, they're probably the teams I'm interested in seeing. The big hitters we're all going to look forward to, and the Frances and the Spains and the like. But yeah, I've got a feeling at least one of the big guys is going to go out of the group stage. I've just got a feeling that someone's just going to have a bad tournament. So yeah, and it could be Portugal, right? But they could have a really good one too.
That's some good observations there, Daniel. I think Turkey, they've been mentioned the last few tournaments, haven't quite produced. And there's always going to be one time when they do, and is this the time? And we've got a little bit of a disclaimer here. We've got a prediction for Turkey later in our five-a-side challenge. But yeah, I'll be intrigued to watch them. That's one of the reasons why I picked them in their score predictor, because I was thinking I want to have a little watch of them, see where we're going to go with them. But good picks. Sean, what about you? Any teams that you like the look of?
Well, you've not really left me with a lot, but yeah. Thanks for that,
Scotland.
Dan. 3-3.
48
No,
teams.
mate.
48 teams.
I'm glad you named the teams you did. For me, it's Morocco.
Yes.
They reached the semi-final
Good
last
team.
tournament. They won the African Cup of Nations. They have a very favourable group. Obviously, Brazil are in it, but outside of Brazil, you look at the Moroccan squad, it is full of top European players, basically all playing in top-tier European teams. So I'm going to go outsider for Morocco. If they finish second in their group, they likely play Japan, which, yeah, all right, that's my other side. That I would say Japan again as an outsider, very technical, very disciplined. Again, all the players play in Europe. They're sort of, they're used to playing on the big stage. So those are the two countries that I'm saying as sort of good outsiders, not necessarily on the cards of a lot of people, but yeah, Morocco, mate, semi-finalists last time round, won African Cup of Nations. They've got some pedigree there. So.
And I think there is going to be this time when an African team will come through. But
sure.
when you think about it, actually, African teams are coming through. We had the great Nigeria teams. We had Cameroon. Yeah. Morocco got to semi-finals. Ivory Coast, I think, is going to when they click, they're going to be formidable. So I think it's going to be quite exciting. And Japan's interesting because when I bumped into Paul Gascoigne in Costa Coffee last week, I asked him
Go on,
about
Gaza.
about England's chances, and he was very supportive and things like that. But he did mention the Japan game, and that, again, that's a forgotten game that England had. But yes, it's a friendly, and you've got to allow players to play. But then you're thinking, Japan, they've been there or thereabouts in years to be as a team to be mentioned. So Morocco Japan could be a brilliant game, and again Morocco v Brazil. I think that's what a game to kick off that group. That's
Yeah,
going to be really exciting. So
yeah.
amazing choices. Um, so what we've got, any shock? John, want to say any shock? Scotland going to win a game? Are they going to get through?
I'll be honest with you, mate. I mean, it's within the predictions. I think first group game, Morocco could do Brazil. I've got them down for 2-1
Wow.
to beat Brazil. To be
100% with
honest,
you. Yeah,
why
100%.
not? Like the Morocco, mate, so underrated, technically great. All the players are top tier. They've got nothing to lose. You know, I think they're going in to that match. There should be no fear at all, really. So, as a shock match result, that would obviously on paper look a shock, but I don't think it would really be in reality. Bear in mind, like I say, semi-finalists, one African Cup of Nations, they're the top African nation, I would say. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that would be my
Morocco.
shock result out of the group stages, I would say.
Nice one, Daniel.
Shock,
Yeah,
but
no,
not
I
a shock.
agree. I agree. Yes, it feels like it shouldn't be a shock, but I think it would. There's so much talk about Brazil that, I mean, anytime Brazil get beaten at a World Cup, it feels like a shock, which is
Yeah.
strange, even though they're not what they were. But yeah, I agree. I think Morocco is definitely there. I think Algeria, Argentina. I think Argentina got previous. They tend to, Saudi Arabia in the last
Yeah.
one.
Start
That's also an
slow.
issue. Yeah, and I think Ivory Coast, Germany. I think Ivory Coast again. I think will be. I think those three African teams who can generally turn over big nations, and I think you're going to go into that with some Brazil, Argentina, and Germany. I think have generally got tough games to start this.
I think that's
So
the beauty of the cup. I know you mentioned last time, Sean, and I agree with you. It's thrown up so many different teams, and it seems like sometimes how that team at the World Cup. But on the other hand, it's going to just open our eyes up to new players, new systems, and potentially new shocks. And it is a bit arrogant, isn't it, to think, oh, Germany lose
Mm.
to another team, or Portugal lose to such and such team, or Brazil, because these teams it's a global game, and a lot of these
Yeah, of course.
big players are nationwide. So it's going to be interesting, isn't it? It really is.
Well,
So
yeah, like you say, I mean, Dan touched on it then, Saudi Arabia beating Argentina in the group stage. I mean, they deserve to win the game as well in the last tournament in the group stage. So, by all means, I'm not completely ruling out, the smaller nations or whatever. But if you look at like the infrastructure of Saudi Arabian football, the money that's put into it, there's no reason why in 10, 12 years they might be a bit more of a nation to be thinking of,
yeah.
the way they're trying to sort of take over football.
We shall see how it goes, and I think this leads us on. We've tempted you, listener, about sweepstakes, about score predictions and things like that, and we're going to go into the score predictions and just a bit of fun, because then what this is going to mean is that Sean and Daniel have to come back next week to see how they got on with their predictions, and hopefully you, listener, might want to send in your predictions as well and see if you can go against my dynamic duo here. So the first game, I was having a look at them, and I was trying to coordinate when we might meet again. So this is why I picked these sort of games in this bracket. So Brazil v Morocco, we've started. So Sean, just remind us what's your score for that again?
Morocco to win 2-1.
Who won? Daniel?
I went 3-2 Morocco. I think got a goal in it, but I think I fancy this
Goals.
week.
I'm gonna go Brazil 2-1. I'll chuck Brazil in there for Carlo and the boys. Right, Daniel, USA versus Paraguay.
I've gone 1-1 here. I fancy the US to score early. I fancy Paraguay to pull it back. Bit of a stalemate.
Sean?
I've gone 1-0 Paraguay. I don't really feel like USA have got a lot of goal threats. I mean, obviously it's their home nation, this tournament and whatnot, but yeah, I fancy Paraguay 1-0.
I haven't got a clue on this, because USA, from what I've heard about Pochettino at USA, hasn't been too positive. But we know Pochettino is a great coach, and he might do that. So I'll give USA a 2-0 win, a 2-0 win. Right, Haiti versus Scotland, Sean.
I mean, look, this could go one way or another. Haiti could absolutely pull off a massive coup, or it could be, I've gone Scotland 2-0, to be
Yeah,
honest. I think they'll win, but I don't think they'll be overly convincing with it, to be honest.
a win's a win, isn't it? You want to kick off with a
Yeah,
win. Daniel?
yeah.
Yeah, I went 2-0 Scotland too. I think actually they'll probably move quickly into a 2-0 lead and then kind of just, that's how I feel, coast. I think they'll get there quickly and the weather will take a bit of a toll.
Daniel's turned into like Nostradamus now. He's run full on prediction mode. He's done weather, tactics, when they're going to score. What a move that is. I think I agree. I made a few jokes about Scotland earlier, and I actually want them to do quite well because I like Steve Clarke and some of their players. I like the story of Craig Gordon in goal, nearly as old as me. Hope for me yet. And I think they've got to win this game. I think they've got to win this game, and I think 2-0 sounds safe. You boys have gone 2-0. I'll give them one more goal. I'm going to go 3-0. 3-0 Scotland. Okay, 3-0 Scotland. And Daniel, Netherlands versus Japan.
I've gone 2-2 with this one. I think it's going to be a good game, and I feel like there's going to be again goals in it. I think it's it feels a bit of a matchup. I think either could have a really good World Cup, and either could have a terrible World Cup. And I feel like 2-2 is where we'll go.
You're wanting Memphis Depay to bang in both goals, aren't you?
I am. I'm hoping 250 to 1 it was, not to put gambling in, but Spain to win and Memphis Depay to beat goal scorer. So.
Oh, nice. Have you had a little walk down to Ladbrokes or other bookies?
I may have put a flutter on. There are other bookies available, yeah.
There is. Very good, Daniel. Daniel bookies. Give Daniel a little DM and he might, give you his book and let me know what he thinks. But anyway, and we don't promote gambling. Gamble safely, listener. John, Netherlands versus Japan. You like Japan?
We do like Japan. I do like the Netherlands, to be fair. They've, never really. Yeah, so.
We haven't mentioned them, have we?
No, there's no mention of them. I'll be honest with you, I don't really know much about the Dutch squad anymore. I mean, obviously Depay is their top boy, but I've only ever got a sort of, I know international scenes differently. He's obviously, top goal scorer for them, but club level, he's not really ever done it for me, I guess. So I've done them for 2-1 Holland, but that, to be fair, is just based on, I don't know, just to pluck it out there. There's no knowledge behind that, really. I'll be honest.
I think Holland have they do have experience, and they are one of those teams that we all love. They've got some seasoned campaigners. I fancy them. I'm going to go 2-0 Holland on this one, and last but no means least, Sean, Australia versus Turkey.
I've got 2-0 Turkey.
2-0 Turkey. He's gone for Turkey. Yeah, much fancy Turkey. Daniel.
Yeah, I've gone 3-0 Turkey. I think it's going to be a big start for them.
Yeah, I think Turkey will win that one. I'll go 1-0. I'll go 1-0 just to be different. But no, some good predictions. We will come back to these, gents, and see how you get on. And just before we leave, I've chucked a little curveball on here about World Cup sweepstakes stories, and it might be something we can come back to on a future episode. I'm going to be controversial. I think they're overrated. I really think they're overrated. Do you want me to tell you why? I was in Costa and Ferndown, and they go, "Do you want to sweepstake?" I did. I've got a little few hours here and there. I just got to have a little wander, get the Wi-Fi, and check the socials and the emails. Sure.
Are you after a bit of an advertising deal with him?
Well, I'm spending enough money in there at the moment. Anyway, but anyway, I was in there. They said, "Do you want to do our sweepstake?" Oh, I should have known that. I said, "How many teams got there?" They go 4, and I knew they wouldn't show me. I said, "Oh, and God!" And it was a lad who. Someone I used to sort of teach, his sisters and stuff. Real nice lad, actually. Pulled it out. Hey, T, I was like, you've done me in the eye there. But it's like, and then I was thinking, and then I'm thinking, if you want to have a bet, but I think overrated, but I do buy into the fact it brings a community get together, workforce, and things like that. So that was just a little World Cup sweepstakes story. In another one, in a family one, I've been given France and Portugal. So my views are changing a little bit on them. I'm not going to lie. So any thoughts on sweepstakes, boys? Daniel, shaking your head.
Not a fan. Yeah, I got Uzbekistan in my work one. I wasn't even there to pick the team.
You hate them, don't you? You're not one of those, are you?
You know what? I wasn't even there to pick the team. Someone picked it on my behalf.
Oh, of course they did. Yeah.
I didn't even agree to go into it. So now I owe a fiver for a team I've not picked, and I've got Uzbekistan. Yeah. I've been done over. So
I've done up like a kipper, Dan.
Yeah, so I'm going to leave that.
Sean at Griff's Family Butchers. Are we having a sweepstake over there?
There is a sweepstake at stake at the butcher's. Yes. So
Steak.
I've done spend 40 quid or more, and you get your hand in a pot. You get to put your hand in the pot, and then what you pick out, if your team wins, you get a £100 voucher at Griff. So
Great
that
effort.
has been concluded. Personally, I'm not a lover of them.
Yeah.
I've never done well in them. Never won. So yeah, I'm not for it for myself. But I've won a little bit on this one because I've had a few punters spend a few quid. So
Yeah, fun. Well, I think your listeners, our listeners are in for a treat, and if they're in for a treat to go down to your butchers, then get your hand in the pot and see what you get. But gentlemen, round 2 has been an absolute pleasure. I appreciate you bearing with me for the late one tonight, and we will reconvene next week to see how your predictions do, and mine. I've joined in now, haven't I? So God knows how I'm going to get on. But how have you got on? Have you enjoyed it again, boys?
Yeah, always nice to chat, isn't it? Always good.
Yeah,
it's lovely to chat. I'm just going to continue watching the Mexico-South Africa game now. It's 1-0 at the minute.
Still 1-0. And
I think
Sean,
Mexico got this.
and we're going to finish with Sean, the Vidi printer Griffiths, telling us the score live from Mexico City. So until next time.
It's nice for Sean not to speak in euphemisms all the time, though, isn't it?
Yeah, we'll see what happens there next time. But anyway, listener, I want to say thank you for indulging us. I'm send us in your score predictions, send any questions, and see how we get on. And just a few quick shout outs before we go. I want to say hello to Sean McKinley. Great question. Here's one for us to think about: how many games we're going to stay up for to watch. We can come back to that next time. Clive Bates has given us a big shout out. Dawsey has as well. So if you want to get a shout out, drop us a message. But in the meantime, we're going to say farewell. Enjoy the weekend's football, lads, and we'll be back next week. Okay, take it easy. Thank you.
Cool.
Cheers again.
Good night. Night all.
Night. Thanks for listening to the Lonely Goalpost. I really appreciate you spending your time with me as we share football memories and stories from the beautiful game. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to follow and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. You can find us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and all major podcast platforms by searching The Lonely Goalpost. And if you'd like to explore more, head over to thelonelygoalpost.co.uk for articles, memories, and updates. Until next time, listener, keep the football memories alive, and I'll see you on the next episode.